Hi Otters, and welcome to another guided reading session. Today we're going to be reading Jinks and O'Hare Funfair Repair. Now this text is on the website. It looks quite long. The PDF is 12 pages long, but the story doesn't actually start until page 6. You are going to have to read this whole story though, please, because there are lots of questions on all of it. Okay, so if you haven't read it yet, pause me now whilst you read the text. So from page 6 of the PDF until the end of it, please, and then press play to move on. Okay, so we're going to start with those quick start questions like always, and you're going to have a go at these on your own today. You don't need to go through them with me. Pause me whilst you answer these 4 and then press play when you're ready to move on. So question 1, where does Emily live? Where does she live? Well, she lives on Funfair Moon. Okay, and what can she smell from the Funfair? What can she smell? So she could smell candy floss from the Funfair, and then it asks who are Jinks and O'Hare, and they are repairmen. Okay, it tells us that. And then number 4, it says what is the name of Emily's school, and this was right at the end of the text, which is why you had to read all of it. And it's Learny Go Round. Okay, that's the educational roundabout. All right, so that is where she goes to school. Just some quick vocab that you may or may not know. It says Emily loved that Funfair din. Now a din is a bit of a background noise, and generally it's normally an annoying noise that is constantly going on, but clearly Emily loves that. It says she kept the fragments of the pale blue eggshell. Now fragments are small pieces that are maybe broken off. Travel broadens the mind. It's talking about making broaden something is to make something bigger, so sort of expanding your mind and opening up your mind to lots of different things. And then the last bit is a podium. Now that's a bit like a stand. I'm normally in the middle of something quite high up where lots of people can see you. Okay, moving on. Individual thinking. Why was Emily happy to sleep when it was noisy? Why was she happy to sleep when it was noisy? Pause me whilst you go through that one. So you might want to use the sentence stem of Emily is happy to sleep when it is noisy because. Have a go at answering that and press play when you're ready to move on. So I was having a look through the text here. I'm sort of a bit torn really. You could say how she didn't like to sleep when it was silent because she wasn't used to it. But I think the answer that they're looking for is that the Funfair din was like a lullaby to her, soothing her softly off to sleep every night. I think that's the answer they're looking for. The noise to her, the Funfair din, was like a lullaby to her and put her to sleep. Next question, partner talk. So we're going to write this one down. Is can you think of one negative and one positive thing about going to school on the Learny Go Round? Now it talks about Learny Go Round right at the near the bottom of the text. Okay, so scroll down to there. One negative and one positive thing about going to school on the Learny Go Round. You might want to number them 1 and 2 if you would like. Pause me whilst you answer this and press play when you're ready to move on. So the positive that I could find was that Professor Spoob had discovered that people always learn more when they are on the move, which is why the Learny Go Round spins. And one negative that it does say in here is that some people get quite travel sick during double maths, okay? And you might have also thought about their equipment flying off the tables or something like that. That could also be a negative. But the ones that they definitely mention in the text was that you learn more when you're on the move, and the negative is that you might get travel sick. What was inside of the pale blue egg? How would the people who lived and worked at the Funfair have felt when it hatched? Your sentence stem for the first one would be, inside the pale blue egg there was. And then says, how would the people who lived and worked at the Funfair have felt when it hatched? Now this is for you to look through the text and have a think about. Pause me whilst you answer this question and press play when you're ready to move on. So hopefully the first question was easy. It says, what was inside of the pale blue egg? And it was a little Emily. Okay, so she was born out of the egg. The next question could have lots of different answers though. So it says, how would the people who lived and worked at the Funfair have felt when it hatched? You could have had a range of reasons as long as you've explained them. So maybe they were excited because they look forward to having a child around the place or someone to say hello to. They might have been the opposite. Maybe they didn't like humans or didn't like babies, didn't know how to look after them and weren't very pleased. So have a chat with an adult at home about what would be a sensible answer, because you could have lots of different reasons as long as you've explained how they might feel. Maybe it was a bit of a pain, it's something else to look after, or it could have been a joy because they like young children. Why did Emily think the owner of the pale blue egg would not be a good parent anyway? So this has been mentioned specifically in the text. So if you're not sure of this answer, I would look for where it says that about not being a good parent. I wonder if you could find that part of the text and underline it and then have a think about what that means. So why did Emily think the owner of the pale blue egg would not be a good parent anyway? The sentence stem that I would use would be, Emily thought that the owner of the pale blue egg wouldn't be a good parent because. Okay, or you can say, Emily thought the owner of the egg, to make it shorter, wouldn't be a good parent because. Pause me whilst you answer it, and then press play when you're ready to move on. Now, I'm assuming we've probably got the same answer, and that Emily didn't think the owner would be a good parent because they left, they forgot their egg. They left it. And you could also say how they didn't go back for her. They didn't go back for the egg, okay? So, one, that they forgot it in the first place, and two, that they never went back for it. So they wouldn't be able to look after a child like that because you can't forget a child. You can't leave them in different places. You have to look after them. Now, the solo work today, I really like this one. It's something different that we've not had before. And it says you now have 5 minutes to write a list of questions that you would like to ask Emily about what you have read so far. And these can be anything, okay? So as long as they're sensible and to do with the story, have a think of some questions you could ask her. I would think that everyone could come up with at least 5 questions, but you do have 5 minutes to go through it. So it's as many as you can think of. Some of you might even want to have a look at this book and see if you might have it at home. You might have a friend or family who you could borrow it from, or you might want to buy it. Okay, and it's called Jinks and O'Hare Funfair Repair. Send in some pictures of your questions. I might be able to mention them maybe in our next Zoom call or in a shout out if you've got a really interesting question. And if you really want to have a challenge and you do end up reading this book a bit more, I wonder if you can maybe answer some of the questions that you came up with after you finish the book. Good luck, guys, and I will be back in a couple of days for some more guided reading. Bye.